This video is for firefighter recruits who want to know how to prepare for a firefighter written exam. My name is Luann and I own Smart Tutoring. I recently wrote a blog about how to prepare for a firefighter written exam, and I wanted to show you where you can find that on the website. And then I want to talk to you about how you can prepare and simulate the firefighter exams that you're writing. This is going to help you alleviate some stress and give you a better idea of the pressure that you're going to be under and the circumstances that you'll be in. All right, so you can see here we're at Smart Tutoring. The website for Smart Tutoring is smarttutoring.ca. I want you to go to the firefighter test prep tab, and then I want you to go down to where it says fire recruitment process tips. If you click on that link, that will take you to all of the blogs. So you can see if you scroll down, there's another one on what to expect on a firefighter aptitude test. Originally, what I thought of doing was reading these to you. Because I know people like to listen to books. I'm one of those people. If you listen to Audible, you're one of those people. If that is of interest to you, let me know. Either send me an email or write me in the comments. I will read this and record it if you want to listen to it as opposed to reading it. Otherwise, you can come online and then just read it. And also you can print all of the blogs off for your personal use. So go ahead and take advantage of that feature. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the article, how to prepare for a firefighter written exam. And then I want to scroll down. There's lots of points here you can read on your own. And if you have questions about that, certainly ask me. Specifically, I wanted to talk to you today about how to simulate your firefighter written exam experience. So, for the most part, I'm going to assume that the majority of you answer practice questions out of your firefighter books or the websites that you use. And that's excellent because it gives you some opportunity to work with the types of problems that you're going to be asked. But I want to caution you because I don't want you to be working in this bubble that you're not going to be working in an actual testing situation. So in this case, to help you prepare for that and to like pop your little bubble there, I want you to simulate what you're going to be doing in your studying and in the preparation time you have up to your firefighter exam. Okay, so that takes us down to the third paragraph. I'm just going to talk on this point here where it says alleviate feelings of nervousness and test anxiety. If you are one of those people who do feel nervous, that's 100% normal, first of all. I liken nervousness, the amount of nervousness you feel, to the amount you care about what you're doing on the test. So that's why I say it's normal to feel that way. It is abnormal if your fear overcomes your ability to do what you prepared for in your test. That's where you start to slip into anxiety. So what I suggest is give yourself a long runway to prepare for your tests. Learn the skills that you need to know to answer the questions, strategize in terms of the approach that you're going to take, learn study strategies to help you remember the content and answer questions efficiently. Get all of that ready before your tests. The more prepared you are, the less likely you are to feel nervousness and the less likely you are to feel anxious. Okay, so that is a tip there for you. Now, we're going to work through these different study strategies to help you with your firefighter exams. I forgot to tell you, take out a pen and paper. You're going to want to write this down. Okay, so study strategies to try in your next firefighter exam preparation session. Give yourself for your sessions, you should be working at a minimum of 50 minutes just in studying. And then if you are like weeks away from your firefighter exam, increase your time to about 2 hours. I'd probably go anywhere between 2 and 2.5 hours because you're going to sit anywhere between 2 and 3 hours to write your test. So make sure you can work comfortably within that time frame. Okay, so now we're going to jump into the points. Number one, it says time your firefighter practice tests. So if timing is an issue for you, you are going to have to practice that. And this is where you're going to need to know what test you're taking and how long they're going to give you to write it. That information is provided on the recruitment service providers website, or it could come from the city. So it just depends on who's running the recruitment, but generally they'll tell you the type of test that you're writing, the time that you're allotted. They'll give you all the information you need. So with that, use it in your preparation. If you have 2 hours, you want to make sure you sit down, and if you're in test prep, you should be writing full tests. So if you're writing, let's say you're writing a CPS test, then you want to write 20 questions on oral comprehension. You want to do 20 questions on reading, 20 on math, 20 on mechanical, including mapping, and 20 on human relations. Put all that together and then do it in a 2 hour time frame, because in general, that's what they're going to give you. Okay. One more note on time. I want you to know that they give you the time that's required to complete the test. So you should not, I don't want you to feel poorly about yourself if it takes you 2 hours to write a 2 hour test. It should take you that amount of time. And I would question anyone who's walking out of a test significantly early. Um, Between you and I, those people likely didn't do very well on their test, because like I said, it takes about 2 hours to finish a 2 hour test. So if you see somebody walking out way early, just put your head down and keep working and don't worry about them. Okay. All right. That's point number one, time your firefighter practice test. The second point is wear an analog watch to track your time answering firefighter exam questions. This reminds me of a student. So I teach time management in my tutoring sessions in terms of how to approach a test, how to answer questions in a test, what sections to go through, how to go through each section. And I was working with a student and we did all of that. She got into her test and she came out and she said they didn't have a clock on the wall in the test room. There was no clock anywhere. So all of that work she did in terms of managing her time went out the window, literally, because she didn't have a clock. Like, she just didn't have a way to watch her time. So if you are able, do make sure you wear an analog watch for that reason. Don't rely on the test prep center for that. And I do say, if you're able, just make sure you're able to wear a watch. I'm not sure what the restrictions are. I don't know if you'd be able to wear a smartwatch or not. So just ask, and if you're able to wear a plain watch just to watch your time, great. If they have a clock in the room, then you don't need to worry about that, but I wouldn't want you to be stuck without knowing your time. Okay, and then in that case, make sure you're practicing in your studying sessions to watch your time, because a lot of people get anxious about time. And I'll talk about that in another video, but there's no reason for you to be anxious about time. So I want you to start working with it as part of your study sessions. That takes me to point number three, which is work out before writing a full firefighter practice test to simulate completing a firefighter physical test before a written firefighter exam. So in some cases, you might be asked to do a number of different things on the same day as your aptitude test. And one of those things could be the CPAT, which is a very taxing physical test. And they do this because in firefighting, you have to be able to make critical decisions in stressful situations. And you have to be able to do that over a long amount of time. So they're going to put you under those situations in the best way they possibly can. And one of the ways they do that is to physically tax you and then test you. So to train for that, work out as if you would for the CPAT. There's lots of information online to get what you need to know to do that. And then sit down and do a 2-hour test preparation session and write a 2-hour practice test. Okay. Continue to do that until you can do that comfortably. That will help you overcome mental fatigue. Okay, next point, study at the library to simulate test taking in a public space with distractions that are outside the norm for you. This reminds me of, I'm not going to name the city, but there was a big recruitment in an outdoor convention center, and there were pigeons in the rafters. And I remember there were hundreds of recruits doing this aptitude test. They had to listen to an oral comprehension passage, and the pigeons were cooing in top of the roof and the rafters. It was terrible. It was like so terribly distracting. So I want you to be fully prepared for anything and everything when it comes to distractions in a aptitude test. And that's because sometimes the testing centers can be, or the tests themselves can have hundreds of people. Like you could be in a room with 300 people writing the same test. If it's a big application, pool, or if it's a big recruitment. So be aware of that. And I think that's important because if you haven't been to a classroom that has 300 people in it, it's something to look at, so be aware of that. You could be in a room, you could be in a big center writing with hundreds of people. So to combat that, I want you to just go to the library and I want you to work. You can scale it back if you're a nervous type of person. So first of all, start working in the library because working in the public is going to give you distraction anyway. But the more comfortable you are, I want you to get out of your comfort zone again. It's kind of like CrossFit, where once you're able to do something, they scale it. So once you're able to work in the library, I want you to then get as close as you possibly can to the door. So scale yourself to the door. If you can study at the library and focus by the door, you're going to be fine with everything else. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Get out of your office. Get out of just get out of your comfort zone when it comes to preparing and test taking. Not when you're learning math. Okay, when you're doing your skill development, that's something totally different. If you need a quiet space to learn how to do something, then take advantage of a private room or an office. I mean, specifically when you're preparing for your tests and you're practicing your test taking, that is when I want you to get out of your comfort zone, because you're not going to be in your comfort zone when you're doing your test. If you have any questions about that part, just write them down in the comments and I can come back to that. Okay, so that was studying at the library. Next up, we have practice transferring the numbers from a firefighter test question onto paper and using them in a calculation. So I see this a lot and I've talked about it in previous videos. A common error we make in the math section is taking the number. We can read a number in the word problem without an issue, but we transfer it onto paper wrong. So like, let's say we have 64 in the question and we write 68 on the paper, the math is automatically wrong. So I just want you to practice taking the information out of a word problem and putting it on paper, because you're going to be allowed to have, in most cases, you're given paper and to do your calculations with. So I want you to practice doing that. Also, if you're new to this channel, go back. There are a number of different videos on how to answer word problems now. I'm doing a series of them. So I know there's 7 now. There's going to be 10 of them in full later. It talks about how the steps to solve word problems. It talks about word problem vocabulary. Everything you need to know is there. So do go back and get that information so you can take that with you when you are working on any part of the math. Okay. And then that brings me to the next point, which is um, transferring your answers onto an answer sheet to simulate using a scannable answer sheet. So what I'm talking about is, if you're using like a Scantron, sometimes they'll give you a booklet and you have to put the answers on the booklet. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, they'll give you a booklet and then they'll give you a separate piece of paper, and you have to, it's like bubbles, and you have to circle the bubbles with your pencil. That's what I'm talking about. So you might not even know this. You could be failing your test because you could be answering your bubble sheet wrong. Like, you could be answering the scan sheet wrong, especially if you skip questions. So if you're one of those people, you do have to have a strategy in place so that you're not messing up your Scantron sheet. If you're one of those people, this is where you're going to need to practice that. Okay. So everyone actually should be doing this, because you're probably going to have to answer a scannable, use a scannable Scantron sheet at one point in time. So just make sure you've got that down pat, in terms of, instead of circling your answers in your test prep book, if the test prep book gives you an answer page, use it. So I'll give you an example. Um, this is the mathematical study guide. At the back, there's an answer sheet. Okay, so I created that so you can print this off, or you can just use it, because there's 4 sections, and that way you're not circling on the questions themselves. I want you to be able to practice transferring your answers from one page to the next. So that's actually something that's pretty helpful for everybody, because if you're failing your tests for reasons like that, that's an easy fix. Okay. Next up, and lastly, this brings me to practice answering questions online to simulate online firefighter tests. So if you know you're going to be writing an online test, first, I want you, when you are in that test, make sure you know how to navigate the computer system. I have had students not do well because they were in a section and they didn't realize they had to scroll through windows. So for example, there's like a window of text you have to read, and you can scroll through that. And then on the bottom, there's a window of questions, and you scroll through those. Well, he understood he could scroll through the questions. He didn't understood he could scroll through the reading section. Like, so obviously he didn't get some questions right, because he didn't know, like, he wasn't able to access it. So if you are in an online situation, or if you're in a testing situation in general, they're going to tell you instructions at the beginning how to fill everything out, and they're going to tell you how to complete everything on the computer. Make sure you listen to those questions, or sorry, that information. And if you have questions, ask them. You don't want to be in the middle of your test and then be stuck not knowing how to do something. So if you're not clear how to start your test, ask before you start your test. And then from there, you should be fine. Okay, so if you are writing, I just want to recap those last 3 points because they all had to do with transferring for the most part. So for math in general, I want you to practice transferring the information from word problems onto paper. And especially, I want you to double check the numbers because a lot of people make errors just based on that. And again, that's a quick fix. So make sure that if you're aware of that, if you're aware you do that, make a conscious effort to check your numbers before you move forward. Okay, catch your errors. We're not going to make random errors. We make the same errors. Catch your errors. If you make that error, then now is the time to be responsible for it and say, if I'm going to make that error, I better check to make sure that the numbers are correct before I start the math. Okay, so get the numbers down, check them, and then go. The second point was transferring answers from um, your work, wherever that might be, onto a Scantron sheet. Okay. And that is especially true for you if you have strategies in place that require you or enable you to skip, then continue to practice those. If you don't have strategies in place, then you want to learn how to do that before you attempt it. Okay. And then lastly, remember you want to simulate the type of test that you're writing. So if you're going to be writing an online test, or even if you're going to be writing like the NTN test, it's a video test. So try, or even the oral comprehension on the CPS test, you want to simulate those experiences. So if you are reading your oral passage and then answering it as if that it doesn't work that way. If you have an oral passage, have someone read it to you, or read it into your phone and record it and then play it back and listen to it, because that's the whole point of that, right? So simulate the experience to really further develop your skill set and better prepare you for your next firefighter exam. I think I'm going to leave it here. If you have any questions, please again leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them for you. And again, I'll take you back up to the top of this blog. There's a lot of information here, obviously, that I didn't go through. So do take some time to go through it on your own. And again, if you want me to read this, just let me know. I'm happy to read this for you. I was thinking about doing it anyway. So if you would rather me read it than read it yourself, I'll come back and do a recording for you so you can just put your phone down and do your dishes or whatever it is you might do while you're listening to something. Okay, so this blog was how to prepare for a firefighter exam. You can find it on the Smart Tutoring website by clicking firefighter test prep and then clicking down at the bottom where it says fire recruitment process tips. While you are here, there's a couple of things I want you to do. First, hit subscribe on YouTube because I'm going to come back and record more videos. I enjoy doing it. And I'm starting to feel like it's more of a classroom now. So I want you to treat it like it is your classroom and ask questions and get information every time you come and watch a video. So hit subscribe. Also, let me know what you like. You can either give me a comment, or if you like the video, that will tell me that you like it and I can give more to you. I'm a pretty interactive person that way. I thrive on engagement because I am a teacher. So let me know what you need in the back of the class. I see you, I just can't hear you. So please send me an email if you don't want to be known. It's fine. I just want you to know that I'm here to help you, and you should ask questions as needed. Okay, so that was subscribe to YouTube. Next up If you want to work with me, as I said, I'm a tutor, you can click the button to the right or the picture to the right there where it says request a tutor. And that'll take you to a form where you can fill out your information. I will get it and I will contact you. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about while we're on the website is our firefighter mailing list. So I send practice test questions to the fire recruits who are on my mailing list for free. And some of the questions we work through together on YouTube. And some of them you'll also find in the blogs. If I was to scroll out of this, I'll show you. If you scroll down, they start here at oral comprehension. And then you can keep scrolling. There's a whole bunch of different practice questions on the website, but I send these types of practice questions to my mailing list every week. And then every 4 weeks, after 4 weeks, I send out an email just checking to, really what I want you to do is assess your skills. Normally what I'll say is, I sent you this amount of questions. I want you to take a score, and then your percentage should be this. If it's not, that's something that you need to review. So I like doing this because it keeps you active. I only send out 5 questions every week. And so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, and I don't want you to collect them. Like, don't hoard them. They're there to use, and there's no reason for you to sit on them. Okay, there's only 5 of them. You should be able to whip through them. If you can't, try one a day. One a day will still keep you moving forward, and that is the point. Okay, so every 4 weeks, I check in. I ask you what your scores are. That way, you know where you're at, and you know where to find me. Okay, this is a system that's built for you, and I hope it helps you. And I'm enjoying it. So, for as long as I enjoy doing this, and for as long as it helps you succeed in your fire recruitment, then this is exactly what we're going to continue to do. Okay, my name is Luann. I own Smart Tutoring, and I'm really happy to work with you. Thank you very much for walking through this with me today. Have a smart day.